Last time, in the discussing Yaksha Prashna, the very first question that Yaksha asked Yudhishthira was about sunrise, sunset, the planets orbiting around the sun, etc. Yudhishthira correctly surmised that Yaksha was not asking about astronomy, but he was asking about Atma and Atma Gnana, knowledge of the Atman. The same subject that Professor Ram Bachchan is discussing in Keno Upanishad over the last few weeks. It is the same thing that Krishna advised Arjuna in chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. So I want to make a brief discussion on Atmagnana before moving forward. We all have names and forms. They help a nama and rupa. They help us in distinguishing one from the other. But behind these names and forms, there is one common entity known as awareness or Atman. The awareness in you is the same awareness that is in me. The purpose of the teaching is to reveal that the awareness in you, awareness in me, and awareness everywhere is the same. To gain this knowledge, we need a teacher who is qualified, which means who is a Shrotriya, which is knowledgeable in the scriptures, and a Brahmanishta, meaning one who is well established in Brahman. And such a teacher is capable of explaining the scriptural truths in simple form so that not to confuse the mind of the student. So we have the qualifications for the teacher, but what about the student? The student should also have certain qualifications. The most important is to have a mind that is prepared to receive this teaching. And such a mind is conflict-free, and it is achieved by practicing the disciplines of Shat Sampat that we have talked about before: Shama, Dhamma, Titiksha, Uparati, Shraddha, Samadhana. That is, having mastery over the ways of thinking, mastery over the senses, having a single pointed attention to what the teacher is saying, etc., etc. And such a student with such a mind is ready to receive the teaching. And there's a threefold process in gaining knowledge about the Atman. These are Shravana, listening, Manana, analyzing, and Nididhyasana, assimilating. We will explain these terms in some detail in the following. Shravana means to the student, listen with an open mind to the teaching so that you give the teaching a fair chance. And you need a teacher because obviously you cannot listen if the teacher is not speaking. So listen to the teacher with an open mind. Manana is analyze the teaching and resolve any doubts that may arise by using your reason. Manana is also harmonizing what we know from the teaching with what we know from the other sources. Approach the teacher and ask with humility to help you resolve any remaining doubts. So, both in Shravana and in Manana, the teacher plays a very important role. After a long period of time, you should be able to say, after Manana, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, that thou art, with conviction, not based on the teaching and based on knowledge, but not merely on faith. Nididhyasana is also called Gnana Abhyasa, practice of Gnana. This is the most crucial part. It's a deep reflection on, have I put my understanding in thought, words, and deed? Now in Nididhyasana, this is where the rubber meets the road. You are on your own. There is no teacher. You're entirely on your own. It is assimilating the teaching, making it a part of your daily outlook on life, neutralizing old ways of thinking and acting on the basis of the new understanding. You have to continually overcome the rut of thinking that you had. Your ways of thinking must change to follow your understanding of Soham, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Tattvamasi, etc., all the famous Vakyas. Previously established habits and thoughts must be overcome in light of manana, which is analysis. This is a continuous improvement process. You have to ask yourself, have the teachings made any difference in my life? Has it changed the way I interact with my family, neighbors, friends, and the community? Am I being respectful of others? Am I empathetic? Do I harbor animosity towards others, and so on and so on? So many questions that you have to ask yourself. You have to ask these questions and supply your own answers in your own privacy. If the teaching has no impact on my life at all that I have accomplished is listen, 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 shravana, shravana, shravana. Mere listening does not lead one to Atma Jnana. Once you recognize the true nature, Nijaswarupa, of the Atman, that knowledge is firm and unshakable. Kutastham achalam dhruvam. It is unshakable, achanchala. And this is not an easy step. This is a lifelong process, lifelong journey. I've asked myself these questions when I was studying the Bhagavad Gita. Very often I would close my eyes and said, have I followed the teaching of Krishna that he addressed to Arjuna? And I was shaken many times because I found totally inadequate that I was not following his teaching. And that caused a lot of pain to face your own inadequacy in your own privacy, asking these deep questions and come face to face with the truth. You suddenly find that you have fallen way short of what Krishna expected and what you have delivered. And that agony is still with me when I read Kena Upanishad, when I read the other things. You still have these various questions that arise, and then what you have to do is to restart and go over and start all over again. So this is a lifelong journey. It is not something that you get overnight. And Dr. Sane knows all too well the struggles that I have gone through in studying the Bhagavad Gita. And today being the Mother's Day, what is a mother? Mother is the conductor of the family symphony. She is the primal energy of the family. She abides equally in all children. She is the children's consciousness. She is the intelligence of her children. She is the power of reflection. She bestows forgiveness. She abides as modesty in all her children. She shows the way to peace. She is the faith in her children. She abides as activity in her children. She is compassion. She is contentment. And she is bliss. She is unselfish, caring, loving, and giving. She holds the family together for mother. And now I'll continue on with the next question that Yaksha asks. This is Yaksha's next question. Who is nobler than the earth, higher than the sky, swifter than the wind, more miserable than a straw blown about in the wind? Yudhishthira replies, Mother, nobler than the earth, Father, nobler than the sky, mind, swifter than the wind, and careworn heart, which is more miserable than a wind blown in straw. Yudhishthira's answers all one-word answers, one word. So you have to think about what that word means, what the answer means. Recall the statement from Taittiriya Upanishad, Matrudevo Bhava. May you become the one to whom mother is God. May you become the one to whom father is God. May you become the one to whom teacher is God. May you become the one to whom Atithi or guest is divine. So we offer, accord the highest status to one's mother. Yudhishthira is saying that we must respect our parents. It is well known that the mind is swifter than the wind. In the twinkling of an eye, the mind can traverse vast distances and go to many places in the twinkling of an eye. The mind can traverse vast distances, stronger than the wind. So Yudhishthira's answer is to maintain a healthy lifestyle, keep your mind under control. We see weeds growing in our yard. We don't fertilize it, we don't water it. They grow aplenty without any help from others, from us. Anxiety is like a weed. It grows and grows and grows. Eventually, it causes a lot of misery. We worry about things over which we have little control. We worry about tomorrow, forgetting to live today. If anxiety takes hold of us, our day-to-day life becomes ineffective. Live in the present, learn from the past, and plan for the future. If we concentrate only on the past and constantly worry about the future, we miss the glorious opportunity that is today. So, in this particular verse, Yudhishthira is stressing us respect your parents, keep your mind under control, and reduce anxiety in your life. Then he goes on, who, though enjoying sense objects and who is endowed with intelligence, is not alive though breathing. Yaksha's question. Who is alive though not breathing? Yudhishthira's answer. One who does not serve gods, guests, servants, the spirits of the forefathers, and the Atman may breathe but is not alive. What does Yudhishthira mean by this? The question underscores the standards by which we can consider a person to be living. To be alive in the world means to fulfill certain duties, discharge certain obligations. The reference to Pitru emphasizes the reverence for the past. The reference to gods, guests, and servants explains what must be given in return for the pleasures and respect that we received. All these are to be viewed as components of a society that an individual must relate to. Yaksha's question addresses the important issue of who is considered to live a life. Mere enjoyment and intelligence does not constitute living. To live, one must go beyond selfish pursuits and contribute to the welfare of the community. It is important to realize that our success is dependent on the efforts of so many others. Our success depends on our own effort. Our success depends on the grace of the Guru. Our success depends on grace of God. A man might be wealthy. He might be enjoying all the material comforts of life. He may even be intelligent. Because of his wealth and intelligence, others may even hold him in very high esteem. He may even donate a very small portion of his wealth towards charitable causes. But if he does not engage in the Panchabhuta Yajna, Deva Yajna, Atithi Yajna, Bhuta Yajna, Pitru Yajna, and Brahma Yajna, he is considered dead though living. Deva Yajna means our obligation to the gods. Atithi Yajna is our obligation to guests. Pitru Yajna is our obligations to our forefathers. Bhuta Yajna is our obligation to all the living creatures. And Brahma Yajna is our obligation to our own self. Yudhishthira seems to emphasize that we are not alone in this world. Our life depends on the efforts of so many others, both living and departed, that we owe a debt of gratitude to them all. If we fail to remember this, we are not living, though we might appear to be alive. We might be breathing, we might be walking, we might be eating, but we are not living. That's Yudhishthira's answer. So what Yudhishthira summarizes here is, do not consider yourself to be the architect of your own life, of your own success. So many other people have helped you in becoming what you are, and you owe a debt of gratitude for the efforts put in by others, seen and unseen. By renouncing what does one become loved by others? By renouncing what one is free of sorrow. By renouncing what does one become wealthy? By renouncing what does one become happy? So here he is talking about the things that we have to give up to make us loved by others, to make us free of sorrow, to make us wealthy, to make us happy. Yudhishthira's answers is the following. By renouncing pride, one will be loved by all. One becomes free of sorrow by abandoning anger. One becomes wealthy by giving up desire. One becomes happy by giving up greed. That is Yudhishthira's answer. Notice that you can only give up what you have and not what you don't have. Pride and anger go hand in hand. We have seen that before. Try to hurt some other people, some woman's pride, and see how angry they become. Anger not only destroys the possessor, it affects people around him also. Anger is one of the three gates to hell, as Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 16. Kama, or desire, krodha, anger, lobha, greed, moha, delusion, mada, arrogance, and matsarya, envy or jealousy, are the six hidden enemies that is inside of all of us. And we are warned again and again to guard against these enemies. Knowing how to keep them under control is the key to happiness. This requires great discipline, as Shankara emphasizes in Bhajagovindam. Kamam krodham lobham moham tyaktvatmanam pashyati soham atma jnana vihina mudha te pachante narakani gudha. Abandon kama, krodha, moha, lobha. Think of the nature of Atman. Contemplate on who am I, soham. One without Atma Gnana is incomplete and falls into the pit of Naraka or hell. The antidote to Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, as Professor Rambachan has discussed and we have discussed here, are the Shat Sampat, Shamadama, Titiksha, Uparati, Shraddha, Samadhana. When one succeeds in escaping from the clutches of desire, there is no urge to accumulate material possessions, and one's sense of well-being, which is the original meaning of the word wealth, increases. Renunciation is not mindless self-denial, but a method of exerting control over our senses and leading a disciplined life. So here, Yudhishthira is again emphasizing to us, as many scriptures have told us before, that we must guard against kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. And then he goes on, Yaksha goes on to ask him, what doesn't close its eyes, though sleeping? What doesn't move, though born? What doesn't have a heart? What flows swiftly? Yudhishthira responds, fish does not close its eyes while asleep. Egg does not move after the mother hen lays it. Stone has no heart, means no feelings. River flows swiftly. Again, let's analyze what Yudhishthira meant by this. Though the body is asleep, the awareness is always awake. The self is awake in the waking state, the sleep state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state. The self does not move. Kutastha achalam dhruvam. Though through its identification with the body, it appears as though it has the illusion of movement. An Atmagnani has no body consciousness and hence is not aware of his heart. Shma means perishable body, and one who has this kind of body is Ashma, meaning that the Gnani has no body consciousness. He is not perturbed by happiness and sorrow. In this sense, he has no heart or feelings of joy or depression. Mind follows the senses rapidly, just as river flows swiftly. So here, again, Yudhishthira is interpreting the Yaksha's question about what doesn't sleep, what doesn't move, is Atman. Again, Yudhishthira is explaining the various features of the Atman that we already know. Then he goes on another question. Among the noble people, what is the chief character or guna? What is best in all forms of wealth? What is best in all forms of gains or profits? What is best in all forms of happiness? Yudhishthira answers, what distinguishes noble people? Discipline and steadfastness distinguish noble people from others, Yudhishthira's answer. What is the best form of wealth? Yudhishthira, knowledge is the best form of wealth. One may lose material wealth, but knowledge is to keep. Ordinary wealth gets depleted if you keep on spending it. But you share your knowledge with others, it keeps on growing. Health is the biggest gain one can have. No matter how much you earn, you cannot enjoy it without good health. Arogya is bhagya, as they say. Health is wealth. That's what the scriptures say. Best form of happiness is contentment. Entertaining a desire is a bottomless pit. Desire has no limits. Its boundaries keep growing and growing. No sooner than one desire is fulfilled, out pops many more desires. A mind filled with desire finds no happiness. Ceaseless desire is the enemy of man. One who is a slave to his desires will be a slave to others. One who masters the desire devil is capable of ruling the world. As Adi Shankara says in Bhajagovindam, O Mura, give up the constant mantra of I want wealth, I want wealth. Abandoning this constant craving for wealth, cultivate a serene mind. Be contented with what you have as a result of your past papa and punya karmas. So here, Yudhishthira is emphasizing, he gives us a guide for our mental, social, and physical well-being. This verse is worth contemplating on. If you want to be balanced in your mental, social, and physical aspects, this verse has a lot of things going for it. What veils the universe? What is the reason for it not shining? What causes one to abandon his friends? What causes a person not to attain heaven? Yudhishthira says, ignorance veils the universe, darkness prevents it from shining, greed is the reason that one abandons one's friends, attachment is the impediment to reaching the heaven or attaining moksha. One does not see the self-effulgent Atman because of the veil of ignorance that covers it. Dullness is born of ignorance and deludes all embodied beings. People are deluded into thinking that the gross and subtle bodies are the Atman. In reality, the Atman is Swayam Prakasha. As long as one is immersed in body consciousness, one does not glimpse the Atman. Adi Shankara says in the Guru Stotra, Ajnana Timiranjasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I bow to the divine Guru, who by the application of knowledge opens the eye that is blinded by disease and ignorance. Shama, Dhamma, and other spiritual disciplines are essential preparations for Atma Gnana, as we saw before, and they are the friends of the seeker. They're always with the seeker. One who is greedy has no time for these mental disciplines. Thus, he forsakes these essential friends. Attachment is respect to one's samsara. One who is thus attached knows neither happiness nor the path to moksha. Brooding on the object of senses, man develops attachment to them, as Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita. From attachment comes desire. From desire springs forth anger. From anger comes delusion. From delusion, confused memory. Confused memory leads to ruination. Due to the ruin of reason, one perishes. Adi Shankara says the same thing in Bhagavad Gita. How do you get around this? Adi Shankara says, Satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve jivan muktihi. In the company of the wise, attachment to material objects falls away. This destroys delusion. Having no delusion, one sees the truth. Having seen the truth, one attains moksha. Thus for Jivan Mukti, company of the good is the key. So in this verse, Yudhishthira is saying that to realize Atmajnana, we need a teacher, we need to get rid of some of the evils that are residing in us. This is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Ultimately, you will find happiness. You will not seek happiness outside of you because you recognize you are happiness. And then Yaksha asks another question. Which is the most difficult enemy to overcome? Which is the endless malady? Who is a sadhu? Who is an asadhu? Yudhishthira answers, anger is the most difficult to conquer. We do not know when it arises and how intense it grows. If our pride is hurt, we become angry. If we don't get what we want, we get angry. We must learn to contain anger, use only as much as desired in a given situation. Uttama kshana kopaha, madhyama gadikadvayam, adhama swadharotram, papanishtam maranatikam. Momentary anger is the best. It can have a long-lasting effect in transforming the mind of the other to see the truth. Great harm is done if the anger persists for a minute or two. Ruination is the result of anger that persists for a whole day. When the mother scolds the child, being angry for doing something which the child should not have done, that is to teach the child, it's very momentary. Teaches the child a particular lesson. Immediately after that, he looks at the child's face, which is so sad. He grabs the child in her arms and pats the back and hugs the child. And so that anger does not last very long. But if you keep the anger going for longer than a few minutes, then it begins to anchor, begins to take root. And if you don't let go of the anger for a whole day, then you're consumed by anger, and then you do not see the good points of the other person. All you will be seeing are in your mind, the not so good points. And what is the endless malady? Yudhishthira says greed. There's hardly any cure for this disease. It even accompanies the dead, only to fulfill itself in the next birth. Morning, night, evening, dawn, seasons come again and again. All of these move forward dynamically. As time goes fast, so does the age. Even as the last breath is leaving the body, greed does not go. This is what Adi Shankara said in Bhajagovindam. And then he also says in Bhajagovindam, the body is all wrinkled, all the hair on the head is gone, all the teeth have fallen out. He uses a cane to support, to take baby steps. Even such an old man does not loosen his grip on the ever-clinging desire. So desire is the enemy that is the greatest malady, most difficult to conquer. Who is a sadhu? A sadhu is one, he says, one who wishes for the welfare of all is a sadhu. Sarva bhuta hitaha sadhu. A sadhu has compassion even for unrighteous people. One who has no compassion to others, who is hurtful and cruel, is an asadhu, is what Yudhishthira says. And then he says, Yaksha says, who is happy? Which is the most surprising thing in the world? What is the right path? Yudhishthira says, one who earns by honest means is happy, one who is God-centered, one who welcomes guests, and one who lives within his means is happy. And what is the most surprising thing in the world? Yudhishthira says, every day people see other creatures leave for the abode of Yama. Yet, those that remain behind behave as if it is not going to happen to them. The reality is that this reality is the most astonishing thing in the world. Under delusion, one thinks that he or she is immune from death. This is also called the power of Maya. Adi Shankara says about Maya in the following in Bhajagovindam. So long as there is prana in the body, everybody will inquire about your welfare. Soon after the prana leaves the body, even the wife is afraid to go near the body. Adi Shankara also says, always inquire, who is your wife? Who is your son? This samsara is really strange. Who are you? Where did you come from? Without delusion, ask yourself these questions and come to understand the truth. And the right path, according to Yudhishthira, is the one that the noble ones have traveled. When one looks for it, one will not find it by studying the scriptures or arguments. Adi Shankara says again in Bhajagovindam, the only way to cross the ocean of samsara in all the three worlds is by association with good people. So to be happy, Yudhishthira says, is not to have unquenchable desire and greed. And surprising thing is, do not consider yourself, the body is mortal. Atman is immortal, the body is mortal. And the right path is the path that is traveled by wise people, by people that you respect. So when there are many other questions that Yaksha asks and Yudhishthira responds, but I'll stop with these things because these are important for our own well-being. And then Yaksha says, Yudhishthira, I'm very pleased with your answers. I'll grant you a boon. Please tell me which one of the four brothers you would like me to revive. Without a moment of hesitation, Yudhishthira said, "O Yaksha, please revive Nakula." Yaksha responds, "Yudhishthira, I am very perplexed by your response. Bhima has no match in this world for valor. You have great regard for Arjuna. He is a great archer, and you depend on him greatly. Why then do you want Nakula to be revived? I don't understand it." Dharmaraja responds, "O Yaksha, Nakula is the son of Madri. Arjuna, Bhima, and I are the sons of Kunti. I am still alive, and Kunti has a son. By reviving Nakula, Madri too will have a son. Just as Kunti is my mother, I consider Madri too as my own mother. This is Dharma. This is the truth. Dharma is the only protector of man, not Bhima, not Arjuna. One should not go against Dharma. If one transgresses Dharma, great harm will come to you. Thus, I cannot violate Dharma, and therefore, please revive Nakula." What a beautiful response that Yudhishthira gives. He didn't even think for a moment. Spontaneously replied Nakula. After Dharmaraja requested Nakula be revived, Yaksha says, "O best among the Bharatas, your compassion has overtaken Artha and Kama, and I am very impressed by your righteous thinking." He then says, Bharatas, Bharat, Bharathara sarve jivanti, meaning immediately Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadeva, they all woke up and sat by the lakeside. Having seen his brothers alive and well, Yudhishthira was filled with happiness, and tears of joy poured from his eyes. He then asked Yaksha, "I am very anxious to see your real form, Nijaswarupa. You have been our friend, and you have just been like a father to his children." Yaksha then says, "Dharmaraja, your guess is correct. I am your father, Yamadharma. I came just to see you. Only those who have the qualities of ahimsa, equanimity, peace, cleanliness of the mind, absence of jealousy, etc., can see me. You have all these qualities, and you are very dear to me. You have conquered the six enemies, kama, krodha, etc. One should conquer kama and krodha in pre-teens. One should conquer lobha or moha in their youth. One should abandon mada and matsarya in the old age. You have conquered all of these things already. O son, I came to test if the rigors of Vanavasa had changed you, and I am very pleased to find that you have not deviated from the path of dharma and compassion. You have undergone a lot of trouble, a lot of problems during your Vanavasa, and but you have not changed your innate character. You have followed the dharma, and you are still a man of great compassion. And so he says, "Ask me for any other boon, I will grant it." Dharmaraja said, "You know, that Brahmin who was going to conduct the yajna, all his the churning rod and the ropes, they were taken away by the deer. So please restore the kindling twigs and the churning rod to the Brahmin so that he can conduct his yajna." Yama then said, "I was the one who assumed the form of the deer and ran away. And do you know why I did it? I ran away far away because I wanted to see you. I wanted to have an opportunity of having a conversation with you. When you return to your ashram, please hand this over to the Brahmin so that he can continue with his yajna." Yama then offered a second boon to Dharmaraja. Dharmarajas requested that their 12 years of Vanavasa, which is about to be completed very shortly, be without any hitch, as well as the forthcoming Ajnatavasa, that is living incognito. Yama said, Dadani, I'll grant your wish. I suggest that you spend your Ajnatavasa in the kingdom of Virataraja. There, no one will know your real identity because I grant you the power to hide your identity in any way you want. Yama then said, I am not satisfied with offering you just two boons. Please ask for another. He is trying to tempt him. Ask me for more and more and more and more, not knowing Dharmaraja's real nature. He knows it, but he's just teasing him. Yudhishthira said, with your blessing, may I never fall prey to Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Bless me so that charity, dana, tapas, austerity, and firm establishment in truth, satyanishta, fill my mind always. He could have asked for anything, but he says, let me be charitable, let me be austere in my life, and let me be always established in the truth. What a beauty was. Yama said, so be it. Yama then vanishes. Then the Pandavas return back to their ashram and resume their daily duties, waiting patiently for the next stage in life, which is Ajnatavasa. So there ends the Yaksha Prashna. And the interesting thing about Yaksha Prashna is the questions are very cryptic. Sometimes you have to think about what the questions mean. And Dharmaraja's answers are all one-word answers. And so you have to expand on one word what Dharmaraja meant with those one-word answers. But overall, I think what Dharmaraja is emphasizing here is giving us various methods to tune our life, to make our life better, so that we live in a society, we live in a family, we live in a society wherein we make the maximum use of all the available resources, at the same time giving back to society that has provided us with so many of the things that we need in this life. So charitableness in our attitude is very important according to Yudhishthira. Tapasya, that is austerity in our own life, is very important to us. So that is the one that we have to remember when we read Yaksha Prashna. But you should go through all the questions and answers and come to your own come to your own conclusions. But I think that these questions and answers are they don't reveal anything new, but it's a new way of putting the things that we already know. But it is better to be reinforced by Yudhishthira's responses.